Welcome, guys, to today's episode number 6, and we have the magnificent Joeri on this program. I've met this guy in such a short period of time, my friends, but I can guarantee you're going to be blown away by this man. No pressure on you, but it's been something I've been really excited to showcase some special entrepreneurs that are doing some special things that actually make an impact. So, Joeri, thank you very much for coming on the Niche 360 show.
Thanks for having me, Aaron. It's a pleasure, and like you said, no pressure at all, eh?
No pressure, but it's going to be great. Okay, so just to kick off in true fashion, I wanted maybe you could share a little bit about, even better, a little bit about how we met and how you came up with your brand Magic Sauce. Because I have a feeling it has a connection, because if it wasn't for some of that branding you did, I think perhaps we probably could have been here, but you really were compelling with your brand. So how did you come up with that amazing brand? How did we meet? Just so audience can know how people can actually connect and reach each other.
Sure. So my name is Joeri. I'm full-time Dutch. I have a Russian name, but I'm Dutch. We spell it Joeri. It's a funny way of spelling it. It's Joeri. I run a small agency called The Magic Sauce, and I met Aaron actually a couple of years ago in Singapore. I met you at the Hub. So the Hub is a co-working space in Singapore, and you were there for something. And we were literally sitting at the coffee bar, and I'm a coffee snob and a coffeeholic. And the two guys behind the counter, I know they make beautiful coffee, beautifully roasted coffee. And you were sitting next to me, and I don't know why we started chatting, but we had this like a 5-minute serendipitous conversation. And that's basically it. I don't even think we had a lot of context. We just had a chat, maybe about coffee.
Yeah.
And then I just started following you, and I was like, oh, this guy's in Bali and he's doing all these cool things in Bali. And I just kind of watched your journey and watched what you did. I'm like, this guy's a real entrepreneur. And I don't even call myself an entrepreneur, by the way. So it's interesting. But I set up the Magic Sauce. The Magic Sauce is a small business. I run innovation projects. So at the end of the day, I work with a group of friends. We work on innovation challenges for typically big business. And there's a reason I call it the Magic Sauce. It's because I usually tell them like this, like rather than us coming in and changing your entire business, what we do is we add a bit of hot sauce. We add a bit of magic sauce, a bit of, Salt Bay, that guy. We add a little bit of seasoning and spices to change your strategy or your insights or your solutions, because if you get boring stuff that goes in, boring stuff will come out. Well, if you spice stuff up early on with a bit of magic sauce, you're going to get something magic sauce at the end. Wow. And at the end of the day, the magic sauce is the people. Right? It's not the systems. It's not the clever strategy. It's the people. That's why I call it the magic sauce. So we're not here to change anything. We're just here to spice stuff up and get you to new and different futures.
Wow.
That's kind of what that is.
I love that Magic Sauce. And that was catchy. And, it's funny you mentioned that connection that we just had at Hub, because I think shortly after that, I stopped working there. So it's just a short window of time that we did connect. Yep. But you just had this spark about you. So connected to what you said about the Magic Sauce, and coming up with that to try and get something magical, different to come out on the other side, or spicy, as you said that it's really about people. Can you maybe elaborate how you got to that awareness that the whole Magic Sauce is really about the people, not maybe say like other traditional innovation strategists, people always go into the numbers or the figures or the charts or the processes.
Yeah. All those things are important when it comes to innovation. Numbers are important. Metrics are important. Having some kind of plan or strategy is important.
Yeah.
But who makes all those things? It's people and that culture, and the people who go on these journeys and how they think and how they connect with other people. That at the end of the day is the differentiator. And the reason that is because pick up a book about innovation, pick up a book that says 7 steps to systemic innovation, and you go do it with your business, I'll go do it with my business. Why is it completely differently? Because the most unpredictable factor in the equation is always the human element. So the flip side of that is, I think, to me, the biggest barrier to innovation is politics, and politics is people. Right? Again, it's not route to all those things matter. Again, speed to market matters, having a good plan, get your brand, asking the right questions, all those things matter. But the biggest barrier I've been seeing is politics. So the biggest enabler then is also people. That's why. And people are hard. People are hard to figure out. Numbers are easier to understand than people, right?
Yeah, we'll get into the people section. So could you give the audience maybe some examples of where you worked in the past?
Got a
Where
Bali
you've
connection here.
I know it's happening, is it? It's all right. We'll keep going. I'll squeeze it in.
It's okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
could you share with people what examples you've had in the past where you worked well with people and it resulted positively, or where it was complicated, like you said, and it didn't work out? And why do you think it didn't work out for you in the past?
The people I work with, or more on the client side?
Your clients,
People,
your client experience, yeah.
On the client side. Okay. So I won't tell you which one. There's a certain sector, a certain industry I don't get along with.
Okay.
Like it was 3 times I look back and go like, what are the projects I hated doing? And I looked at them, they're all in a similar industry. They're similar business or competitors. I'll tell you with the ones I didn't like, and I'll tell you why. Because I think there was a level of arrogance from their side, thinking that they were top of the pops. They didn't need any help. We're doing great. Our business is so powerful. Our brands are so amazing, which is one of the biggest blind spots to innovation. It's one of the biggest challenges. The other one was there are also people who were much more involved in trying to sound clever rather than so giving clever answers rather than asking better questions and connecting with people. And I didn't enjoy the project because they didn't see us as useful. They thought that they knew they had all the answers anyway, and they weren't really willing to change. It was just a bit of a PR stunt. Didn't go anywhere, wasn't fun for us, wasn't fun for them. The flip side of that is I've worked with a couple of companies in certain industries where there was a real zest for learning and a real openness to try new and different things. And interestingly, I've seen more of those on this side of the world than in Europe and in the US.
Oh, really? Why is that, you think?
A friend of mine's got a beautiful definition of this one, Frederick Harrian. Frederick Harrian says the difference between developed and developing nations. Think about it. Once you're developed, congratulations, you've made it. You're done. You've developed. You've won the game, which means you don't have to change. If you're developing, you're in the process of doing something, and therefore you are willing to keep growing and keep challenging, keep changing. And it's the same with an industry. If an industry thinks that, we are the number one in the market, nothing will ever change, we will always stay top of our game. Those are the most dangerous ones to work with because they don't see the change coming. And COVID-19 is a good example. We can see really, really quickly who really had the good ideas and who didn't.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to touch on that.
It's a good example.
Yeah, definitely. So tell me a little bit, because I think I'm very curious about you as a person, as you know, but could you share a little bit about how did you get to the journey of discovering your genius in innovation? So what were you doing before? You mentioned a bit about your family background and how some of this work ethic and some of these, I guess what I'm asking is the lessons that you've learned along the way. I see the connection. Can you hear me? Yeah. The lessons you learned along the way that helped you become the person that you are so you can run the business and the brand that you have.
Cool. Great question. First of all, I'm not genius. I'm really just a pretty normal guy. I just tend to do things a little bit differently. So thank you for the flattery. I don't think I'm genius at all. I think I've always had an attitude of wanting to change things, wanting to stand out, going against the grain. And I talked about it in a recent video. I think I used to do just to look cool for the girls in class.
I love that one. Yeah.
Right. There was no cause to it. It was just like, this is going to, if I go against the grain, I'm going to be like this cool guy. But it had no purpose. I was just being an asshole at the end of the day. It's true.
Yeah.
But I got very comfortable with that persona, which was enabled at home. I don't think my parents cared that much. I think my parents raised 3 good children, good people, but we were all very different, very unique in our own ways. And that was okay. We had never had this feeling that we had to be like everybody else. Nobody said, oh, why don't you look at what Aaron's doing? Why aren't you not more like Aaron? They were like, no, do your own thing. That with a level of pragmatism, because my dad was an entrepreneur before people knew what an entrepreneur was, basically. Tough upbringing, young, started work very, very early on. So we learned the work ethic at home in terms of, hey, if you want to buy a skateboard, you got 2 hands, go make money, go figure out how you're going to buy that skateboard. My mom was a hairdresser and an artist. which is the more the creative side. My dad was also creative. I think they had a bit of both. So I learned that balance between madness and measure from my parents and from my siblings. That paired with, I guess, a whole bunch of factors. The fact that I'm born in the Netherlands in a culture which is okay to stand out a bit more, let's say more than maybe in some Asian countries where it's more like you have to be part of the group. And I guess that persona of I wanted to be a rebel, which kind of, it became a persona which became very comfortable with. And I sometimes think that whether that's a mask I wear or whether it's actually me, like I honestly, I don't know. Like, is this just something that I portray to be, or am I actually that person? Either way, I've gotten comfortable with it. So of course, as my friend Amena always says, the only job you could have done was innovation. Like, this is the perfect role for you. If you want to, if you don't mind pissing a few people off, if you don't mind breaking some of the rules, and you could do that in a way we could take people along, innovation is probably your game. And then how you get good is pretty simple. When I first got started, I had a lot of theory, like I think like we all have, like you with entrepreneurship as well. And I remember I had lots of ideas about what innovation was and how to do it, but it wasn't until I started doing real projects with real money and real politics. It's like, so that doesn't work. What's in the books, right? That's great. Right. This model. That's great. What Jack Welch or Steve Jobs said, but I'm dealing with an insurance company over here, and this is completely different. And that's where you learn. And that's unfortunately where I got humbled. I think that's where I got. And not LinkedIn humbled, where you like humble bragging. No, like humbled, embarrassed, like a client who's fired me, really tough feedback. It didn't go anywhere, wasted time. And I bombed a whole bunch of them. And that's where you start to learn. You got to bomb that first before you get out of that. And just keep doing it. Just do a lot of it. Keep learning, keep connecting, keep trying new and different ways. I have a couple of ways which are like systems and structures, which I've been applying for so many years. But I learn new things every day. Wow. And I think that's how you get better. And I would never call myself an expert. I'm not a guru. I hate words like that. Practitioner, be a practitioner. And who knows what, maybe in 2 years I'll be outdated and need to reinvent myself again. It's okay.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
I love that. So is it possible for you, maybe if it's not too embarrassing, to share one of the biggest, you said you learn more from your mistakes. So what is one of the biggest mistakes you've ever made with a client? And how did that teach you to become a better person today?
We worked on a, let me think about one. I've got so many, that's why. So
juicy ones only.
we worked on one. I'll give you a good example. And it's actually quite simple. This is quite a while back. My old strategy for kind of coming up with, say, solutions was, let's have many different ideas. And then in there will be nuggets. So if we just throw 500 against the wall, in there must be something useful. So we did. So we went really broad, very, very out of scope into very, very new areas. We had a whole bunch of ideas. And basically we ran out of time. So what that meant was we were left with 500 crazy ideas, but the client's going, so what are we going to do? Because I'm not going to explore 500 ideas. Have you filtered them? Have you tested them? And we hadn't. So that was a great example of just the wrong approach of thinking that, just going far and wide is always an answer. And there's a time and a place for that.
Sure.
But it's too easy to open stuff up if you cannot bring it back in. And again, I made this mistake many, many times. And I see many, particularly design thinkers. I see a lot of younger design thinkers do that. They're very good at going, what else is there? And let's open it up. Let's think crazy. Let's go blue sky. Unless you know how to bring that home, that's useless. You and I, Aaron, can sit on the beach somewhere in Canggu and come up with a million new ways to sell shoes.
Yeah.
We're not gonna chase a million of them. We can't.
No, it's impossible.
So the client literally went like, what are we going to do? And why are we paying you? Because you've basically given us 500 options. We don't need 500 options. We want to know the 3 things to pursue. And that's how you lose clients, by the way. That's how you get a bad reputation. They just went with somebody else, right? Because, and honestly, I thought I knew it, but I didn't. And that's how you learn. And what I learned from that was exactly that thing, like be stricter on scope, learn more what you're working on, rather than going on a wild goose chase, have a much more clear idea about what you're aiming for.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great share. Thanks for that. I think a lot of people get a lot out of that because, as you know, in the coaching field or guidance, whichever word you want to use, one of the challenges I do have is asking people to focus on one or few things. And I think you actually shared something really beautiful with me just before this interview on a new strategy you had about going deeper with the feedback of 15 versus also. Could you expand a bit on that?
Do fewer things, do them better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do fewer things, but do them better.
That was great.
Very simple. I don't know about you. I am very distracted. I have too many things to do. I feel I've made too many things to do just because of prioritization and focus. With a lot of distraction and shiny object syndrome, as in, I could do this, and there's an idea with them. Why don't I partner with this, and why don't I buy that skateboard, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are struggling with that. I think a lot of people are very good at portraying that they're super productive because productive is seen as professional. And I think if you're messy, it's seen as a bit sloppy. And I think people, particularly when you work for yourself as a coach, as a consultant, you want to be seen as having your ducks in a row.
Yeah, your shit together.
The reality is many people don't.
Yeah.
Myself included. So many people want to be seen as professional, and they want to be seen as having their ducks in a row and being very organized because that's a way to look professional. The reality is most of us are distracted. And how can you not be with multiple devices around us, a global pandemic, an economic crisis, crazy dictators who are blowing up the world left and right, all these kind of problems? How can you not be distracted? I get it. I absolutely get it. So I cannot do 100 things. Like with these ideas, I cannot do 100 ideas at the same time. It's the same thing for me. So I made a plan to go, let's do fewer things, but let's do them better. So rather than chasing 15 things, I'm going to be chasing 3, or have much more time and energy to go deeper into those. I think that to me works because then it's more fair for other people. So the session I was in, your session, same thing. If I'm going to be in, then I'm going to go in all the way. If somebody asks me for feedback, a lot of people ask me for feedback. I don't do all of them, but the ones I do, I take my time for. Because I'd rather do 3 things well than 12 things half-baked and half-assed.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And just the audience don't know, we had a graduation for some of our incubator program students from all over the world, 5 continents, and they did a really amazing job. But we threw in an extra platform to introduce them to people who've been in the game, to give some life skills and tips. Do you remember what yours was?
I had so many. Yeah. Oh, many life tips. No, I said never settle. Let you know.
Yes.
People always tell you because they are older or wiser or have a bigger paycheck or have a higher title.
Yes.
You know, we're going to tell you what you don't know about this. I've been in this business 25 years. Don't let them waltz over you. And don't settle for those kind of answers. Keep challenging.
Nice. Yes, I remember that. And for those who don't know, he didn't just come in, and we're just talking about this for a few minutes beforehand. He really commented. He was thoughtful with some of the advice because some of them were pitching. He gave some tips, connections, and then he also became one of the angel investors at the end, which is just extra mile beyond the core value we actually have in our company.
Can I add one thing to that?
Of course, yes.
So all the comments I gave, and I learned this from other people. So it's not that I'm clever. I just like to hang out with really clever people and learn from them. When you give feedback to people, it's too easy to shoot holes in things. It's too easy to pick something. And I think many people think that if I can point out what's wrong with Aaron's hair or with Aaron's business plan or whatever it is, it makes me look clever. I actually think that doesn't. I think there's a time for critical feedback, but I think what is better with those pitches, I mean, I didn't want to go like, oh, well, where's the business plan or how are you going to do the numbers? It was much more about, here's what I loved about it. So when you give feedback to people, particularly when it's like at an early stage, it's just a concept yet. We haven't market tested it yet. It's just concept. Give a bit of love first, kind of go, you know what I really liked about that one was this. And maybe ask this. So rather than saying, here's what you did wrong, you build on it. Because I think it's much more useful. And it's easier for people to take in, I think.
Yeah. No, definitely. I love that. And where did you learn that specifically? How did you find, I mean, I know you've got a lot of friends and advisors and people you're learning from. But to me, that's what actually makes you smart because you know how to listen. But how did you decipher to go, this is what I want to take on for the rest of my career as well to empower more people? Who made that impact for you, and how many of those type of people do you meet?
Interesting, you said you know how to listen because my dad would have disagreed. He's no longer around. My dad would have laughed by now. before I worked in an innovation agency called What If. And What If at that time was the biggest independent innovation agency in the world. I worked in London, worked in Shanghai. And I worked in a team of people who were super loving and super caring. And from those people, I learned things like how to give feedback without it being a shit flinging show, without it being kind of spiteful. Just be honest with people. And we gave feedback so often and so frequently that it became the norm. So you can have tough conversations with people you work with, which comes with maturity as well. That is constructive. And it doesn't mean you have to be nice, by the way. A lot of people confuse that with being like, good job, high five, you're awesome. No, that's actually not what it means. I think you need to be able to give feedback, but there's a way of doing it that doesn't make somebody feel caged, trapped, or condescended. And I learned that from those guys, from that team. They were very good. They brought me in like in a little family, bit of a cult.
I loved cults.
Yeah, and that's what I learned. Faster.
So could you give me an example? Yeah, because honestly, I'm really curious about what you just said. I'm listening to the meta of what you just said about the end result of condescending, unappreciated, all this. Because you might think you're doing a good job, but if the result is people are still feeling unappreciated, I feel personally responsible for that. So maybe personally, I don't know about the audience, but for me, could you share with me an example of how they taught you to ensure that you could still be firm? Because I'm a big believer. I think you've seen my approach. It's firm but kind, but the net result sometimes doesn't land, and it ends up coming across as unappreciative or condescending or whatever. So how would you give some examples that could help someone like me in my role and the audience, of course?
Okay, well, everybody has their own approach, I'm sure. I think feedback has to come from a point of wanting to make the situation better for both, for the bigger picture. If it is me going to you and I say, I have some feedback, and basically all I'm doing is I'm going to tell you exactly what I think of you because I'm a bit upset with something you said or something you did, I don't think that's feedback per se. That's just me telling you off. So what is the purpose of the feedback? If the feedback is to make a situation better, if to make an idea better, if to help a person grow, those are different kinds of feedback. If I'm working on a project with you, whether you're happy all the time doesn't really matter. We're working on a project. What's important is what's important for this client. Now, if the context is me helping you, no, the other way around, you helping me grow and learn, well, then you need to have a level of connection with me first. I need to feel that you actually care, because if I feel that you look down upon me, I'm not going to take this in any positive way. It's impossible. And then the last one is when you work together with people. So the topic is not person's growth. It's not a project. It is our relationship. Then the question is always, is this going to help our relationship move forward or not? And if it doesn't answer those questions, I would question whether feedback is the right thing. And the way I learned that, so even with the people I work with right now, is I think a couple of things. One, always come from a point of love. If I didn't love or care for, whatever you want to use, if I didn't care for the people I work with, I shouldn't work with them, first of all. So it's always from a point of, people do things. I've said things to people that were probably very insensitive, and people have told me at points that I was being either insensitive or I waltz over them. We all do stuff, and we're all going to annoy people at some point, which is fine. So it takes a level of maturity to be able to talk about that with other people, but it has to come from a point of love, and it has to come from a point of how do we grow together? How do we move forward? And I think the other one is just do it a lot. Don't wait for that once a year thing where it's like, oh God, I need to talk to Aaron, and like 5 things have built up. It's like, he didn't call me on my birthday, he did this. And then what you get is you get this pent up anger. And then people try to, that's what they call the shit sandwich, right? So the shit sandwich then is like, I've got some feedback for you, Aaron. Look, I think you're a great player. Love your shirt. Love what you're doing with coaching. And then comes the real message. You never called me on my birthday. I don't think you're my friend. But I'm wishing you a nice week. And it doesn't have to be that way. I think if you deal with things a bit sooner.
Yeah.
Right?
Because then you show up with that.
But it doesn't have to be that way. If you deal with things a little bit earlier, go on.
Mm.
Say that again. Say that again.
No, I just coughed. I'll edit that. No, I said I was just confirming what you said, that it's not this pent up energy that comes before the words that can come too heavy. So really, really love that. If it's drip fed in a way that it doesn't build up, you're probably going to say the right thing in the right tone, in the right context. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Hmm.
Because if you
That's
let it build
insightful.
up,
It's
it's just
insightful.
going to get worse. Just do it frequently. Feedback to me shouldn't be this once a year formal session. Do it a lot.
Mm.
I'm working with Leanne right now on Virtually Possible, a virtual facilitation program, which you've seen.
Mm. Mm.
Almost every day we do a little bit, and I just go, hey, you know what? You know what I loved about that? It's so cool that we managed to get this done in an hour. And the next day it might be, hey, I've seen the plan. Can we change one thing? I don't think this is a good idea. Just do it frequently. She gets used to, we get used to each other. That's the way I would look at it. But everybody's a bit different,
Mm.
but don't let things build up. There's no need for that.
I
It's
love
bad
that.
for your heart anyway.
I love that. Yeah, totally, totally. So tell me a little bit about your behaviors and characteristics, maybe that, because you've been a maverick or person in the past, and there were things you said you're aware of masks and changes. But tell me, are there any characteristics from your past that you maybe held on to that you then later changed that really made a difference in the success in your business and your life? If you look back, go, wow, I really had these were bad characters or changes that you made. Any feedback on that?
Yeah, heaps. I've changed heaps of things, I think, along the way. So first of all, I think the core of who I am hasn't changed. So what I mean to say with that one is, if I would bump into a teacher who knew me at the age of 5 in kindergarten, can you still hear me?
Yes.
If I would bump into a teacher who I had in kindergarten when I was 5, and they would talk to me now for half an hour, they could probably see, yes, I'm clearly not 5 years old, but it'd still be the same person. It's not
I
like
still.
no, exactly. But I see that as a good thing. That means
Yeah.
at least, that probably means I haven't had a lot of trauma or change in my life, and I've been fairly consistent and congruent with that one. However, a couple of things change, and they change from feedback. They change through life events. They change when you get older, you get different perspectives. All those things add up. One of the biggest changes, which I've really, and I still struggle with every now and then, is action speaks louder than words, right? And particularly my dad was much more on this one. I was very chatty. I was very dreamy. I was going to be a rock star. Like I don't need school. I don't need people telling me what to do. I'm going to play in a punk band and a rock band. I was very dreamy. So I had more ideas, but I didn't do enough to take action on those dreams and those ideas. And that I've changed. And that I've changed because of people's feedback. That I've changed because I got tired of not walking the talk. And I'll give you an example. A really dear friend of mine, Sina, Shanghai, was helping me with something. I had an idea for a business. And again, I talked about it, but I hadn't done anything. And he literally said at one point, you need to stop wasting my time. Wow. I want to help you. But every time I do, you come up with more ideas and you change it. But I haven't seen anything. Like you haven't set up a website, you haven't registered this, you haven't done that. And you're wasting my time. And particularly that coming from a friend, it didn't hurt. It was just like, I don't want to disappoint him, right? That's right. I've been wasting his time, and it's a bit embarrassing, and I care. And I think those things got me into gear more. And then you set up structures around you to make sure you do those things, right? So rather than going shiny object syndrome, 20 different ideas, cool. One idea of the week. What do I need to do today to get this one step further? Even if it's like a centimeter further. And that's where you put in structures like time blocking. I make commitments. I do this all the time. If I don't have my website up on Friday, I'll give you $1,000. Or I donate to the Trump campaign or something silly like that to give myself pressure to get it out there.
That's good. That's good. So speaking of that, because I actually took it out of my mind, I was going to ask you, so what are the routines or rituals or schedules that you maybe involve that you've consciously decided on that can help you modify these changes to, if you like, not waste people's time? Could you give us an idea of an average day or some key rituals? Because I've called you a few times and you're on your run, and we're both
Yeah.
walkers and runners and stuff like that. So maybe just share a week or an average day in your life that's helped you accomplish what you've accomplished.
I'm what we call a creative guy. That means that sometimes not having structure helps creativity. Not having structure at all can hinder creativity because you just end up going all over the place and nothing gets done. So not having had enough structure for a long time, because I worked on projects for years, and I worked on projects because clients always called me, and I mean that in a good way, not just me, like people like me. Yeah. So I always had a lot of work coming in. So that was the structure. The structure was the first thing, strategy, then insights and solutions. So the structure came from the work that was provided. Now, when that changed with a bit of economic downturn and now with COVID-19, it's very easy not to have structure again, to kind of go, well, work is gone, so I'm just going to stay at home and lay in bed and stuff, which I can't do anyway. I told you this before, the animal that best represents me is a Jack Russell Terrier, and I don't sit still. This is like me sitting still. Yeah. I'm being very kind because it's Aaron. He's a nice guy.
We're going to talk about that dog analogy in a second too.
Exactly.
Yeah, go on.
So basically, I don't really sit still. But the problem is, if you have a lot of creative energy, if it's not channeled and structured, nothing will get done. At least for me, I'll own it. It won't get done. I'll have too many ideas. So doing fewer things, doing them better. Schedule, like, what is the one thing I need to do in this week? I usually have one thing per day and one thing a week. And I schedule time in. My morning times is usually deep thinking time. So creative writing, thinking of right now this program we're putting together, maybe videos I'm creating, podcasts. That's morning time. I don't put any meetings in the morning. And I force myself to write 45 minutes a day, which I learned from my friend Mark. And then afternoon is lighter time. Afternoon, I can do video editing, a couple of chats and things like that, because that's good enough for the afternoon. And then I do work at night as well, because once you work for yourself, you don't finish at 5 o'clock. So I block my time, and I'm very clear about one thing a day or one thing a week. And if I've achieved that, that's good. And that means sometimes I'll be done, rarely, but I'll be done at Friday morning, 11 o'clock, I'm done. Then every now and then also allowing yourself just to take the afternoon off and just go sit somewhere and have a beer. Because sometimes I go through 3 months, I'm like, I haven't really taken time off. I've kind of worked a bit all the time. I'm not busy, but I'm kind of Saturday nights, bit of Sunday morning, Monday the whole day, bit of editing to 1 o'clock at night, get up 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm always on, and taking that time off is very important. So in short, the answer is chunk your time during the week, find out when your time is for deep thinking, when your time is for shallow thinking, and pick kind of the one thing you have to do that day. What is the one thing you need to do that day? And if that means filing taxes, file your taxes. If that means shooting a video, shoot a video. That way it becomes more manageable, because if I get up every morning and say, I need to get to 1 million people on YouTube, I don't know where to start. So chunk it down, keep it simple.
Yeah. And just on that note with the routines, and you mentioned editing and things like that, maybe you could share, because it's a bit of a backstory I know that I think is so powerful for people to hear, is you were, at least in my impression, one of the most booked out people. You had a clear intention. You set the goal before COVID. You went for it and you achieved your goal of getting booked out for speaking gigs for this year before COVID hit. Then COVID hit, and everything just was put on hold. I know you're probably going to get out there, so guys, we're going to keep an eye out for you. But you did something, or at least with me, you shared something which made you make a transition straight into what you're doing with the digital and editing and all this. So question I have for you there is, one, what was the mindset that you had in allowing you to make that transition? Because a lot of people are still stuck on crap shit. My speaking engagements got canceled, and they're still there today waiting for that to start. Whereas you did something very different, which is took action. So what's the mindset and behaviors that you did necessary for you to take action in this new area? And where did you actually learn that? Because that's something that's critical to the entrepreneurial journey, I believe. And how could you translate that so people can learn from you, and how to overcome adversity, I guess?
Such great questions you've had on your run there, Marciano. I appreciate it.
I've been thinking about you. I've been telling you, man. You were like, this is the man.
Those are good and deep questions. I have something in my mind which is quite simple. A lot of people find it very disheartening. And I mean it in a very positive way, but it sounds quite harsh. Nobody gives a toss about you. So at the end of the day, yes, I have friends, I've got family, got a couple of people who care, but in the bigger scheme of things, nobody cares. If I sit here at home and I go, oh, COVID-19 and all my business is gone and what am I going to do? Nobody cares. Like, honestly, nobody cares. When you put out a video on YouTube and you go, well, what if people are going to laugh at me? Don't worry, nobody's going to watch it. I tell them that in the beginning.
That's good.
This is for me, right? A lot of people might not like this. This might be a little bit uncomfortable for some people.
My audience can digest. This is good.
For sure.
That's what I'm after.
I believe that most people do not care. I think I've got a couple of really nice friends, but at the end of the day, I have to pick myself up in the morning. You know this as an entrepreneur, Aaron. If you don't do it, nobody else will. So this year was like, okay, well, that's then gone. I don't have a salary. I don't have somebody paying my salary. So I'm going to have to do this. And if I sit here wallowing in self-pity about how bad it is, not only am I a hypocrite, because I live in Singapore, I've got a house, I have an education, white, straight male in 2020. I have resources, I have a network. I can't sit there and complain. So with that in mind,
I didn't know you were white, by the way, but other than that, I think I figured that out.
It's okay. Some people miss it.
Go on.
Some people miss it. But I have nothing to complain about. So I have nothing to complain about, and knowing that nobody really cares. So I have to do this for myself. So that pisses me off enough that gives me a burst of energy. Like, nobody cares, so well then I'm gonna care. And that's just such a good driver, because sometimes, I'm lazy like everybody else is every now and then, but I'm like, nobody's going to do this for me. You want to do cool stuff? You got to do cool stuff. The good thing is I really enjoy what I do. Now, I'm not one of these guys that says, just follow your passion. No, you have to be practical about this. A lot of people, particularly when it comes to content creation, most people who do well in content creation, whether you're a podcaster, a video maker, most people who do well already have a foundation. There's hardly anybody that comes out of school and says, I'm going to start a podcast on life coaching. And I'm like 21 years old. Who's going to listen to you? So work on that, like explore, do different things, stay busy, read different books, connect with different people. It's the perfect time. So I enjoy it. And then again, I know that if I don't do it, nobody else is coming to pick me up from my sofa. So,
Wow.
And I don't know where I learned. I think I learned that through a couple of hard lessons where I was by myself. I was like, okay. I thought people would come and hug me now and pat me on the shoulder. Nobody did. That's okay. That's okay. That's how you grow.
That's powerful. So just the speed of how you did it was really, really inspiring. And why do you think then, on the opposite, and I'm sure you have maybe some friends, acquaintances, or people you know or know of that had a similar crisis but didn't make that transition? So what do you think their story is? Because obviously your story sounds different. So what do you think the story is on the other side of that, and why other people let themselves off the hook and don't go down the mindset that you did?
I think, and again, not everybody's the same. People have different reasons. If I'm going to guess a bit, and I might be wrong, my guess is that a couple of people are very comfortable where they are. It's somebody once told me, if it's not painful enough, people won't move. Even if it's a bad situation. Like, how bad does it have to get for you to go, I'm not doing this anymore? Okay, so that's one. I think a lot of people are comfortable enough where they are. It's not painful enough yet. That's one. So why change? Because change is scary. Change is scary for anybody out there.
Yeah. Totally.
The other one is might be some people say willpower, right? So like, you can have willpower to go into the gym, but it's structure and routine that will keep you going, that will make you see the progress. And the final one is maybe some people don't see what they can do. Maybe they're in a mindset of, but I am a fill-in job or title. And that job is gone, so what am I going to do? Look at transferable skills. You, my friend, have got so many transferable skills that if you needed work, I'm not even going to say job, if you needed income, you could pick a couple of your transferable skills and apply those elsewhere.
Yeah.
That might mean you need to get off your high horse. I know people who maybe were executive this and this. You know what? Maybe right now nobody's paying you for that, buddy. I'm sorry to tell you.
That's right.
But maybe you can become a coach. Maybe you got a great voice. You become a voiceover artist.
Yeah.
You can learn video making. And it's never been easier learning. And that gets me to my last point. It's hard work.
Yeah.
And many people are not willing to put in the work. That's the hard reality. A lot of people talk a lot, not willing to put in the hard work.
Yeah. Wow.
Takes time. YouTube, 3 to 5 years. I've been doing this for 2.5 years now. I spend about 30 hours a week on top of my normal work. Well, now I don't have a lot of normal work, so I've got a bit more time. But I spend about 30 plus hours a week just working on YouTube videos. That's it. It's a full-time job. That's editing, posting, keyword research, sharing them with the network, shooting them, setting up my lighting, all that stuff. That's a full-time job already. That's just YouTube. Now I'm going to do podcasts on top of that. I've built 2 training programs in the meantime, and I've been posting on LinkedIn and just helping people basically break the rules, innovate, and learn to be comfortable with expressing themselves more. At the end of the day, that's what I do. I help people communicate, break the rules, and come up with new and better solutions.
Yeah, wow.
That's fun.
And I'm going to expand more on what you're actually working on near the end. We're almost there. But just back to the part about breaking the rules. Why is it important for you to help people break rules?
Good question. Why is it important for me to do it? Because I can. I think that would be my simplest answer. Because I can. I think.
Give us a long version. You gave it briefly before.
Okay, fine. So
I like that.
First of all, the whole never settle, what I told your family on that call, your team, is I believe that many things should be challenged. They have to be challenged. I've always had a problem with authority, always have. That doesn't mean I'm a criminal, doesn't mean I'm anti-government. There's nothing to do with that. It just means that I believe that we should all, at all times, be able to challenge the rules. The rules are put in place by people who are the rulers. And the rulers does not just mean government. That means the number one football team, the industry leaders of whatever industry. Certain people set the rules. And I understand why, because they have certain precedent that set the rules. Things change. Things don't always work. And sometimes they disadvantage other groups of people or other industries. And people should stand up for that. And I think many people might not have the confidence, might not have the tools, might not have the right questions. And maybe that's what I can help them with, because I like to break the rules. I've always been a bit of a rebel, I guess. And I've done it in a formal setting around my work. So can I take these things from innovation and kind of help people over here? I don't know yet. I'm exploring this, but that's why. And if there's other people, cool. Like, bring it. It's all good. That's why I think we always have to have a mindset of never settle. You know, there might be a better way of doing that. There might be a kinder way of doing this. There might be a less polluting way of doing it. It's ridiculous how certain industries still have the practices that they have. Those things should be challenged. That's why. And because I can.
I love it. And we talked about that. And I think that's at the center of being an entrepreneur, is breaking the rules. And I think it was Simon Sinek who said something like, it's okay to break the rules as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else. In a way that's detrimental to the physiology. But if it helps move humanity forward, then you should. And it's also okay for you not to stand in line.
That's true, but it can still be painful.
Oh yeah.
Right. So the goal is not to hurt. The goal is not, as it should be, just be a rebel because, like when I was 15, just for the sake of trying to get attention. That's a very selfish, egocentric reason. But it is going to make people uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable when you say no. So yeah, it shouldn't be to hurt people. So it shouldn't be because you want to just get attention or anything like that. But it can still get uncomfortable, because when you say no to something, or when you disrupt an industry, that's going to annoy people. I also think that should be able to up the game. That should keep other people on their toes as well. So no, it shouldn't be at the detriment of hurting other people, but it's supposed to be uncomfortable. Good things are uncomfortable. They're supposed to be uncomfortable.
I love it. I love it. And speaking of uncomfortable, are there any parts of your life where you've had to do business at the hours that you were talking about, which is very common for a lot of people growing, but has there been any uncomfortable conversations you might have had to have with people in your intimate relationships, life, friends, partners, where there was maybe a conflict of schedules, or where would you feel you've had to have some of these uncomfortable conversations, if any?
Heaps. You need to have sometimes you need to have uncomfortable conversations. If you are with somebody and you break up with somebody, that's an uncomfortable situation. Assuming if you care for that person, it's uncomfortable. When you work with people and you need to give them feedback, you need to tell them that they're not right for the project. That can be an uncomfortable conversation. A client telling you why they pick the other guy, not you. No, you worked for 3 months. Those are uncomfortable conversations, but they're necessary. You can't just let things be. I think you have to be able to have those conversations. And like what I said before, the feedback is, as long as they come from a point of, kind of love and understanding, rather than just venting or something like that. So uncomfortable conversations are necessary because that's when you grow. Any growth comes with discomfort. That's just the way it is. It doesn't mean every conversation has to be antagonistic, but uncomfortable conversations are part of it. If you're going to do something new, it means that people are not comfortable. It means that you don't know what's going to happen. It's ambiguities there. It's going to make people uncomfortable. That means you're going to have uncomfortable conversations, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it's okay. That's fine.
Yeah. So the people can handle it as well, yeah?
And you lose a couple of people. You might lose a couple of people along the journey. That's okay. My one of my old friends, Alex, has a beautiful saying, which is also a bit harsh. He always goes, "I don't mind leaving a couple of dead bodies by the side of the road." And what he refers to is dead bodies is not people per se, but it might be clients, it might be industries, it might be a couple of bad habits. It's you can't take them all along. You got to leave a couple of things behind. And sometimes that's people, sometimes that's relationships, sometimes that's just your own shitty habits. That's okay.
Wow.
Get uncomfortable. It's actually quite comfortable.
Speaking of shitty habits versus things to move along the way and leave the dead bodies, what habits would you like to leave behind as a dead body on the side, and which habits do you think you're trying to develop currently that's going to help you make the biggest jumps in the future for yourself and success in your brand?
That is an excellent question. A shitty habit which I would like to leave behind. I'll start with the one I'd like to have. Read books. I've read like 3 books in my life. I read a lot online as in articles and research and stuff. I'm a horrible reader. I have a whole book cabinet here filled with amazing books. They make me look really smart. I don't read any of them. So the habit of just reading, and it's just a matter of just going 30 minutes a day, just read. A shitty habit I have, which I really, really want to change, is I have many. Many. When I get a bit too busy, once I get going, my shitty habit is going back to a lot of old shitty habits. So I'll give you an example. Recently with COVID, I've been sleeping way too late because I get a burst of energy in the evening, and I've been going to sleep at 2, but then I get up at 7. That's 5 hours a night, which I know in long term is not healthy for me. I don't think I need 8, but I don't need 5 either. The really fundamental things like reading and resting, I think if those things are in place, it will really help other parts of my life. I really think so.
Okay. So why do you think that's holding you back from achieving them, since you're already aware?
That's a great question.
Or what's holding you back from doing it?
Because the bad habits, I guess. They're like this kind of, I'll do it tomorrow. And that's where a fewer things do them better is a couple of priorities where you go, I'm going to focus on these. I'll rest next week. I'll sleep next week. I'll read that book when I go on vacation. It's sort of procrastination.
Yeah,
And the good thing is I've got a couple of things which I've now put in place. So for instance, every week I post 2 videos. That's a big commitment. So I focus on that one step at a time, and changing them in, kind of locking them in as I go.
Okay. So which habits then or skills are you working on now that you think will help you in the next decade?
Ooh, decade even. Woohoo!
2030, man. We're going to be way past COVID by then. There'll be something else for sure, but whatever, it'll be a decade older.
So there's a couple of fun ones. So I've taken a course in live streaming. So just taking whatever, the magic sauce, face to face, the things I learned in the band, the things I learned from speaking and just being with and learning from amazing people around me, and doing that online, changing that game a bit. So that's something I'm learning right now. I'm taking a course in that, which I'm really excited about. I think that very basic things like, for instance, stand-up comedy is going to be a lot more important, or TikTok is going to be a lot more important to business than we now think it is. Why? You know how Gary Vee always says attention is the only thing worthwhile, right? It's attention.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be true. I think we're going to be in a world where we're even more overloaded with information and noise.
Yeah.
And to cut through the noise, you need to be able to get attention. And I think you need to know how to have a critical eye.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you. I don't know how many comedians you know. I've never met a dumb comedian ever in my life. I've never met somebody who is really funny and dumb.
Yeah, they're very witty, very fast, and very fast-minded.
They're fast.
Yeah,
they also challenge things. Most comedians challenge norms.
Yeah,
that's what a joke is for. A joke is to address a topic or a taboo which you normally couldn't address, but through a joke you can. So they're rebellious, they're articulate, they're smart, to get the attention, and they make us laugh. Those things, I don't think I'm funny, by the way, but I think I can learn a lot from these people.
I think you have all those characteristics, actually.
No, really, I really don't think so. But I really think we can learn a lot from these people. And I think they will be much more important in our lives than now. And I think in 10 years, I'll make a little prediction. I think in 10 years, we have a couple of really cool things. Again, it's a guess. I'm going to do Gary Vee. Gary Vee just says,
he does a million things. I know. And then he records the ones that work and he sends them to you. I saw that. 3 things that predict. What about the
Exactly. What about the other 1,500 things you predicted, Gary? But okay.
Strategy. Yeah.
So here's one. I think that comedians or some kind of form of comedian stand-up comedy might be a much better paid job than it is now. So right now, I bet you for a lot of parents, if somebody, I think Russell Peters said it, when you want to be a comedian, is like Indian parents are like, what are you doing? We want you to be a doctor. Or
exactly.
That's one. I think those people and roles which we now see as trivial might play a bigger role. My other one is, I'm really excited about this. I'm going to do a video about that soon.
Please. So we'll send the links. Yeah.
Urbanization, right? Everybody's moving into cities. Why? Infrastructure and money. Right? People move to the city to find
opportunities and things.
Opportunities. With COVID-19, we've learned that a lot of those traditional hierarchies are no longer necessary. I'm not saying we're not going to go back to an office. We'll have something that represents an office. I don't think it will be $100,000 massive tower office in the future. So people will have an opportunity to work from other places. Not everybody, but many people. I don't think people are going to go back to the countryside. Why not? Because if you live in London for half the price, you can live half an hour outside London with a little green garden for your kids or for your dogs or whatever it is. Now, why am I excited about that? The reason rock and roll music is dead or almost dead is because people move me from the countryside, from the small towns, playing in grandma's basement, making noise, because you can if your neighbors are far away, to the city. Well, in an apartment complex, I can't play my drums, I can't play my guitar. So rock and roll died with that. Hip hop music, electro music came in because headphones. I have a little selfish hope that when people move back to the countryside, some of that blues, some of that rock, some of that stuff might come back.
Wow.
That's a selfish hope. It's a selfish hope.
I love it. What's the third prediction? You had 3.
I don't know what it was anymore. There's another prediction in there somewhere.
Well, that's good because
I have so
now
many.
I love that face I just saw. So let's talk about rock and roll. Why are you so passionate about rock and roll? Apart from almost becoming a rock star as a career path.
Oh, so I love music. I love music in almost every form. It's always been a part of my life. I grew up with parents who played classical music, German music, French music, American music, music from all over the world. There's an old video of myself when I'm 1 year old. So one of these videos without sound for the young people out there. Basically, yeah, it was like
It was
that
cassette
big.
dates, yeah.
It's a video.
VCR.
With the tape.
Yeah.
Those things.
Yeah, wow. That's classic.
No, before then, like tape.
Wow.
And there's a video of my mum dancing with my brother, my sister, myself. And my brother was then 7, my sister was 6, and I'm 1. And that's a nice video of how important music was. We all had our own music. My brother was into David Bowie. My sister was into this. My parents like that. Everybody had their own system. And music was a way to identify yourself. So I had the long hair and the earrings, and I was into, Billy Idol and rock music. And
sick.
And that was a way to identify ourselves in school. You're either the techno guy or you're the pop guy, right? I just thought rock was cool. It was different. It was loud. It was in your face, which I've always liked. I played in punk bands. And I think it was just rock was tough. I mean, pop is not tough music. Pop is cool. There's nothing wrong with pop, but it's not tough music. Rock is in your face. Rock is loud. As I got older, I played in different bands, and I learned to appreciate different music when I got older. So I'll give you an example. I always played guitar. Guitar and rock are like this. But then I started playing the bass, and I found the bass quite boring for many rock styles. So then I got into funk and soul, because that's bass, that's drum and bass. And that opened up this whole world of different music to me. And then I got into blues, then I got into hip hop, then I got into Motown, then I got into all different kinds of music. And I've just, I'm one of these music. I just love music. I don't know how else to describe it. Any trivia night with me, by the way, you know that the musical round where they play 1 second of a song, invite me. Invite me.
You're the person on my team.
I'm used to this everywhere else. I'm completely used to this the whole night. But that round, just that fraction second. Oh, that's Rolling Stones. Can you hear me knocking?
Wow.
I'm that guy. Yeah.
Okay. When it opens up Singapore, we're gonna do the alley
in
where is that place in the Arabic area? There's a couple of jazz and blues and a couple of places.
Yeah, the blue jazz.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I never make it out there with my legs intact. I've had a few too many drinks over there.
That's okay. That's okay.
We're definitely
part of the game, right?
Exactly. So I definitely will call you up on that. So connected to this, and you might wonder why I asked you that question, because I saw your face light up, but what it connected me with is, how has rock music shaped the way you do business and life?
That's some great questions again. That's a great question. I think rock music is a feeling. I think a lot of people try to define what it is. I don't know what it is. But I think if we look at it from a very casual way, like how do we make this a bit more rock and roll? How do we make this a bit more cool? How do we make it a bit more engaging? I think a rock concert is where everybody is into it. And I think looking at the work and kind of going, where can we inject a bit more rock and roll? So where can we break a bit more rules? Where can we be a bit more loud? Where can we be a bit cooler? I think at that level, that's how I would describe it. So rock and roll is kind of going, why do we have to do it like that? It's Richard Branson going, I'm not going to wear a tie anymore. I'm this super big, larger than life personality CEO. I'm just not going to wear a tie anymore. It's people just break. That to me is very rock and roll. It's always been a little bit against the grain, because rock and roll music, my grandmother's generation, when I heard, at least when Elvis Presley came on TV in the, I guess, 50s, something like that, when people get TVs, for a lot of people in that era, that was getting the devil in house, because he was sexual, he was different. He was loud. He had like shiny stuff in his hair. He didn't look like a good Catholic church boy like some of the other musicians looked like. And that was rock music. And rock music has always been a bit provocative. It's always been a bit loud. It's always been a bit taking from rhythm and blues, taking from jazz, taking from different things. That's rock. Rock isn't a standalone music. Rock is an amalgamation of a lot of other things with a bunch of people willing to break the rules. And I've always liked the appeal of that. So it just became an easy way to say, on a project or working with a client, where can we inject some rock and roll? What that means is, where can we break a few rules? Where can we piss a few people off? Where can we up the amp? Where can we up those amps a little bit here? Same time like that. Where they, that's what I think it is. That's what I think it is. And then coming full circle to that one, how it's affected me. Again, I think I picked that style when I was very young, and I think it kind of worked.
Yeah.
And that's cool. And so the big message here is, and again, I just want to reiterate, is that whole rebel mindset has nothing to do with a leather jacket or long hair tattoos. Tattoos were a bad boy thing in the 70s. They're no longer a bad boy thing. You get like rich millionaire football players completely tattooed. So it doesn't have anything to do with that. I know people who look very conformist who are absolutely not conformist. So there's nothing to do with your looks, but it's a vibe. It's a pounding drum. It's a I don't know how else I should put it. It's just some people have it and some people don't. But it doesn't have to be, again, it doesn't have to be somebody who's shocking. It doesn't have to be. I know people who don't look shocking at all, who've got some really, really rock and roll ideas, because that's the way they think. They're like, how do we shake shit up around here? How do we rattle the cages?
Yeah.
Without hurting people, but just to create a better future, a better situation for people. Yeah, that's rock and roll to me.
Wow, that's beautiful. I'd have easily finished on that. So that was really beautiful said, but I've just got a few final questions for you. And just before we get into those, is there, what are the projects that you're excited about, that you're working on, that you'd love people to know about, access you on, that would be something that they can engage your rock and roll lifestyle with you on, that could help?
Well, just look me up on YouTube, the Magic Sauce. The Magic Sauce on YouTube. I would really appreciate the follow. So I'll tell you what the channel's about. The channel's about people who facilitate innovation. Now, you don't have to be a facilitator. Maybe you're a UX designer, maybe you're a Scrum Master, maybe you're a busy innovation manager, maybe you're running your own business. I'm sure there's something in there that will help you change the way you look at things, maybe help you work with other people, and there will be some provocative questions in there. Still with me?
Yes.
Good. So there will be some stuff like that in there. So you don't have to be a facilitator, but I think it's just filled with a lot of my love and my creativity on the videos I put together. Like I'm just putting one together right now about why trash bags are very important for people running on innovation projects. And you have to go to the channel to find out why that is. They're fun to do. I enjoy doing them. I'm trying to grow a channel. Maybe there's something in there for you if you like a bit of that. Those are the main things. I'm working on a virtual facilitation project for coaches and for facilitation. I met somebody on LinkedIn. I met a girl on LinkedIn. We hit it off really well. She said, "Hey, I'm working on something. Do you want to come play? You want to put this together?" And I said, "Yeah." And for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we've been working on something which will blow people's minds, which really change the way we interact online. How do we create a more energetic interaction? Maybe you're a podcaster, maybe you got meetings, but we want to make the virtually impossible, as in how do we project the same feeling online? We want to make that virtually possible by giving people tools, skills, and confidence just to be just better online, be a better speaker, be like the way you move, learn about lighting and cameras. How do you engage people, ask better questions? How can you surprise your audience? Whether that's a computer or on your phone, that's what we want to do. So making people virtually possible.
That's right. And when would this be ready? And would they be able to access it through your website or LinkedIn, where you're going to be promoting? What platforms do you use to communicate this?
So right now I have a domain name which I haven't linked yet. So I'll give you the domain name. I think it is virtuallypossible.me, as in me, virtuallypossible.me, which will be up in a day or so.
Okay.
YouTube channel, just the Magic Sauce. Simple as that.
Great. Excellent. So we'll put those links in the YouTube links for everyone, and you can send that through us. That'll be great.
Awesome.
So just a couple last questions. Thank you. We could talk forever. This has been amazing. Thank you for everything. So few last ones. First one is, what are maybe things you wish people ask you that they don't ask enough about to get to know the person that you are?
Ooh, okay. That's a great question. I don't know. What wish people ask me?
I see your face. This is great. I live for
yeah, no, because I like it when people know, and it's not just me. I wish people did that more to other people. I wish people asked me a bit more about how I put the videos together. I think they know it logically, as in it's shooting and then you edit. I think, and this is not just me, I think for other people as well, I think we often see the result of somebody, as in we see the end result, we see the cookie that comes out of the oven. What we don't see is what it took to get there. And that journey is always much more interesting. And getting more understanding, because I think people appreciate, I don't want to involve it around me, but just in general, I think just being asked about how do you put something together, because I think once people see the work that goes behind it, they'll appreciate it more, a lot more, I think. 100%. And that's, but I think that's with a lot of things.
100%. I love that. Okay, two final questions. First one is, I would like you to imagine, and I got this off another podcast, which was really, really beautiful, but it's something that's really lasted and stuck with me, is, you're putting out a lot of content. You probably soon will be a global speaker, and I wish you the very biggest success with that. And things will be recorded of you, books, probably interviews, who knows, including this. But let's imagine now that, you've come to the end of your rock song and you're moving on to another place, and nothing that you've done can be recorded or kept, apart from a little piece of paper where someone says you only have enough time before you go to write your 3 truths that people can remember you by. What would those 3 things be?
Ooh. Yeah, the 3 truths on a piece of paper. I had something very different in mind. Before you said the three truths, I thought you were going to ask, what would I put on that piece of paper?
You can answer it that way too.
Can I start there?
Yeah, of course. Magic sauce, baby. Let's do this.
So this is something actually. This is something I learned from a comedian called Norm Macdonald, and Norm Macdonald was big on Saturday Night Live in the 90s. So I would put it on a piece of paper. It was Roger.
It was Roger.
That's all. Or some name. Right? Because can you imagine leaving, dying, and somebody finds a piece of paper that says something like that, like, it was Rogers behind this, or something like that. You just pick a random name, and then for the rest of your life, there'll be the mystery about what happened to you. And who's this Roger?
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. They'll be like, what did he do? Who was this guy? They'll set your whole biography, actually, to motivate the whole conversation.
Yes.
Around.
So something like, I think that would be
clever.
funny.
That is clever.
3 truths. About me, or just in general? What do you mean?
About what you've thought you or life were all about that you'd really love to pass on to future generations. Like what was true about you in your life. And that's one of my coaching questions, actually, and that's where it mostly came from. It's like, what did you find true about you in your life? As you said before, if I meet your kindergarten teachers in 30 minutes, they'll get an essence of you that's been true about you, right? It's kind of digging around there. What are the 3 truths? Some of them could be life experiences that you've had that you can look back and go, wow, that's been really true for my life.
Yeah. Okay, so one of them then would definitely be nobody cares, so you will have to. And you'll have to care. You have to learn to care for yourself, for your environment, for the people around you. Because nobody will do it for you. Maybe it's not nobody cares. Like, you'll have to do it yourself. I think that would be one. Another one I have in there is something about, which contradicts this a bit. You don't do this alone. I heard somebody said that, whatever her name is, Kylie Jenner is like a self-made something. It's like, of course she's not. We're not all self-made. are the combination of the people that you've been on this journey on, from your family to your friends to all these people. So learn to appreciate the other people around you that allow you to be you. And the final one is, I guess, this literally that in that case, this too shall pass. Whatever it is, it'll change. Things will always change for the better or for worse. So just roll with the punches. I think it will be a lot of that. So you're going to have to do it. Appreciate the people around you, even if they don't seem significant. You can't do this game by yourself. You don't have a rock concert by yourself. It doesn't work that way. And this too shall pass. So enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
So
wow.
You might as well enjoy what you got right now. I don't know what tomorrow brings. I can't change yesterday, so enjoy the ride now.
I love it. That's really powerful. Thank you for sharing that. Last question for you. What's your definition of entrepreneurial success? Before you answer that question, let me say this. I just wanted to take this opportunity to acknowledge you, Joeri, because to me, the reality or the embodiment of being a maverick or breaking the rules or a rebel, call it what you want, at the back end of that, I think it takes courage. And somewhere I just read, and I've been playing around with this as I write my book, is courage is not the absence of fear, but courage is taking action despite the fear. And I just wanted to acknowledge you as one of the people I've met since the day one when we connected to how we even got here. And you're one of these people who are really, really courageous. And it comes through in the way you do things, the way you work, the way you show up for me, for my community, and I'm sure for the people around you in your life. And I just wanted to say it's a very big honor and thank you to have this dialogue to discuss just how you represent, I think, the embodiment of what a rock story could look like in someone. And I just wanted to say thank you for that courage that you've taken to be this person and be authentic and really share some really unique perspectives about what it's like to be an entrepreneur. And I love the fact that we both agree we've never called ourselves entrepreneurs, but we just do things that could be classed in an entrepreneurial lifestyle. And you've definitely taken the maverick mindset to another level. So thank you so much for being who you are. So just wanted to acknowledge you with that. And then to finish with asking you the final question, which is, what's your definition of entrepreneurial success?
I think if you've done something where at the end of the day, you in your heart of hearts, without anybody else there, without any of the metrics, without any of the societal bullshit telling you what's important, if you in the heart of hearts, in your heart of hearts, things that you've put something in the world which has made that world a little bit better, and you were the driving force, not the only one, but you were probably the driving force behind it, that's entrepreneurial success. It's as simple as that. Don't let other people dictate what it is for you, because I think that's part of the problem. Everybody thinks it's the Lambo and a lot of the money, and it's not. If you put something into the world which in your little or big vision is something that the world needs and that makes the world a better place, and you've put it out there, that's success. Now, if it makes a lot of money, hey, awesome. If that's what you want, if you want all the rest of it, I think that's what matters. Because there are people out there. The reason I say this without waffling on too long, there are people out there who might put something out there or might be very successful in business, but never have that feeling on the inside, never have that level of contentment. And I think that is, I don't get it, but it's also really, really sad. So if you don't have that level of, I did this and I put this out there, you never achieve success. No $1 trillion deal is going to make you feel like that you're successful if you don't believe that you put something out there that's meaningful.
Yeah, wow. Awesome. No, my man, thank you so much for this interview. It's been really thanks for making the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you for taking the time, my friend.
Great. Cheers.
Awesome.